John Smoltz joins us here on the Michael Kay Show. It's Don LaGreca and Ryan Rucco, sir. How are you?
I am doing great. How about you guys?
Very good. And there's so much up in the air to discuss with you. And I'm sure you got a chance to see what Steven Matz was able to do. How difficult is it, John, to make a debut, have all of almost 150 family and friends there? Your start gets delayed because the suspended game goes 13 innings. You give up a home run in the first at bat in the major leagues and bounce back and do all the things that he did. How incredible is that?
It really is. Not to overstate everything you said. As a pitcher, knowing that you're going to start your first game brings its own jitters and anxiety. Not knowing when. Waiting around the game before, an unusual scenario. You never anticipate that carryover game's going to happen. I was most impressed with everything you just said and how he handled the small doses of adversity, right? First batter, home run. Who knows how someone's going to react? He reacted beautifully. He kept it in perspective. Maybe part of the deal, he knows where he pitched in AAA and how he did. The fact that he was able to pitch after getting the hit, let me tell you something. Getting a hit is so unique for a starting pitcher, yet alone his debut. To drive in runs, to have that adrenaline rush and go back out, I equivalent it to the fact that I get a hole-in-one during a round. I can't play a lick of golf after that. Right. So I was impressed with his makeup. I really did. I loved everything. The family thing was awesome. And what a neat day. A neat day that there was a long day. The rain turned into sunshine, and certainly for the Mets, they're impressed with what they saw.
Now, John, they obviously now have quite a few impressive young arms in that rotation, but they have a lack of impressive bats. Would you, if you're them, consider dealing one of these guys, whether it's a Syndergaard, a Matz, a Harvey, a DeGrom, somebody from the strength of the team in order to try and bring in a bat? I don't know who that bat would be, but it would be something that you would be really interested in doing?
To me, it's got to be a serious game changer. It really does. I know that they're tired of hearing about the future's bright. I get it. And next year, they're more set up. Before the season started, I said last year at the end of the season that the Mets were going to be a playoff team with Wheeler, knowing what was coming. Wheeler goes down. Unfortunately, that did affect them to some decisions they could have and could not have made. So they're buying time. And as they buy time and get the maturation of these young players, who knows what the next offseason is going to bring. But you're better able to make a guess, engage, and risk the young arm for a huge impact player. You cannot sit here and do a move just to get one bat. I don't think that puts you in a better situation. Now, having said that, the orchestrating the team, David Wright not being hurt, you can't count that. Murphy being gone. There's a lot of ways to spin this, but as an objective observer of what we were able to go through and run a string of 14 straight years, that is such a huge part of what the front office is dealing with, and it's a luxury of riches that you never have enough of. I know it's easy to play those games. As players, we were GMs. As players, we were managers, always saying the what-if scenario. Would you take this guy if we gave you this guy? But projecting it forward, giving it a little bit more time, the objective part for me was this was the Nationals division. It always was in the beginning of the year. If you really think you can compete for a wild card and really pull off a Kansas City Royals situation, then it's worth it. But if you're not in that position and you give up one of these arms, I think the price can be too great if you don't get enough back, if that answers the question.
And you've been around baseball for a long time. You were a part of a blockbuster deal at the deadline, but isn't it easier to do those types of deals in the offseason than the pressure of doing them on July 31st?
Most definitely. That's why I think the need of a team is so great, and if that person they get puts them over the top, that's when you get the best return. If you don't have the need that great, and if the opportunity to get a Cole Hamels or a Young, anyone who's going to get a Mets starter per se is looking at the future, maybe not so much the now. They're not looking at, unless you're talking about a Matt Harvey, that puts you over the top. But I think it's an interesting problem to have, and I promise you, in about 4 to 5 months, knowing you can make a better deal in the offseason is a lot better than put the pressure on. You're 3 games out of a wild card spot. You got a month to go, and player A is going to get you into the position where you're going to be the playoff. There's no guarantee on that. If you get 2 people, If you get an organizational change, I call it, game changer, then I would look at all that. I would field every opportunity. I wouldn't put anybody off limits because you have so many. But, man, just think about the possibility of what they've got going. If they can just find a way to scratch out runs now, I know that's like saying, changing the stripes of somebody. But I think the construction of the offense with what their pitching has, if you play great defense and got a little bit of speed, you can compete in every single game because their pitching's that good.
John, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but because you are so well-versed in all pitching knowledge, I'm curious your thoughts on why we see so many young pitchers go down with elbow injuries in today's game, and if you think there is any solution whatsoever that could change the current culture.
There's no one answer, but I believe there are solutions. We're searching in the wrong way. We've tried to put a Band-Aid on a problem that has been there, that everybody knows about, and we're looking the other way because we think everybody will come back from Tommy John, and what's the difference if we wait a year and a half for the greatness of a player? It's a bigger problem than we are really facing because the reality is, if you're looking at baseball in short term and sprints and stints, then there is no big deal because we'll just reshuffle the deck. But if you want longevity and you want these players to be with you for a long time, I think we're running the risk of that being a dying art. Because when I was coming up in the game and when I was rooting for players, I knew the pitchers I watched for 12 and 14 and 15 years, and most of them were with the same team. We know that's not going to exist. Now there's a shuffling of greatness all over the place, but it's short term. And a guy who's had one Tommy John is more apt to have two before, we even thought that even existed. I think we got to go back in baseball down into the youth baseball. And one example I've heard, one I like, is start everybody with a 1-and-1 count. That helps control the pitch count. But what we're doing in baseball and trying to limit the innings and limit the pitch counts is not working. It's actually worse. We've not developed pitchers. We've developed throwers. We've developed stuff guys. And it looks good. It feels good. And the clubs fall in love with it. But when you're RPMing every single time you're out there, sooner or later you're going to blow that engine. And because of the lack of time spent in the minor leagues to develop that pitcher, this is part of the byproduct when they get called up. What else are they going to do? They only know one speed. Get after it. Go as hard as you can, as long as you can. And it's not that long, 6 innings. That's what was so refreshing to watch this kid go 8 innings yesterday, almost 8 innings. That's awesome. We bought into the wrong philosophy of that guys are going to break down if they throw X amount of pitches. And I hate it, but it's not getting any better.